John Huber, Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, passed away yesterday. He was 41 years old. Um, every single time a wrestler passes, it's a really sad, tragic feeling because wrestling is so stupid and weird and different to everything else. It's really on an island. It's such a niche, but so vital. You have to be so different to like wrestling, let alone take part in it. And not many wrestlers, to be fair, make you feel truly special. That's why some people are superstars and some people aren't. You know, it's just the sad nature of the game. I have a lot of love and admiration for anyone who gets involved in wrestling, including myself. Um, but like, whenever I saw Luke Harper, it was like somebody had. It just felt so real, and that was like his biggest legacy to me was the fact that he felt so real. He didn't really feel like someone just playing a character. So many wrestlers nowadays, they just feel like they're going through the motions. They feel like they're playing characters. And people hate this word. They hate the fake word, you know, the famous F word of wrestling. You know, you can't say it's fake, even if some people present it in a very fake way. But ultimately, when somebody passes on at 41, I don't give a fuck if you're offended by the word fake. What I care about is making sure that people remember that legacy the right way. Because wrestling actually, sad to say, I feel like wrestling doesn't have that many good people in it. When I started training, I was 33. I'm nearly 36 now. It's been a tough year, obviously, for so many people. I mean, you know, 2020 has just been probably, for a lot of people, probably their worst year. I've always had a really hard time as a human being dealing with fake people because I'm not a fantastic human being. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a great human being because I know I'm not. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and I've done a lot of bad things and upset people for whatever reason. Nothing that I deem too grim or, you know, I've never really broken the law as far as I'm aware. But ultimately, I also know that, you know, I've upset people, hurt their feelings or whatever that might be. And that's okay. That's part of being a human being. But when I got into wrestling, I realized how fake so many people are because they're not actually interested in helping out everyone. They're interested in getting themselves along. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with looking out for number one. Loads of people do that. And every time I looked at Luke Harper, that was somebody who, obviously I don't know him personally, but every time I saw him on TV, every time I saw him wrestle, it's so real and authentic and organic and honest. And there are not many people who have any of those qualities left in this business. Like, every single time. I mean, I saw him on the Indies very briefly. I saw him. This match with John Moxley went viral many years ago. I think it was in CZW. I honestly can't remember. I'm not here to fucking get clout like so many people are. And I thought, and what amazed me was like, holy shit, because on the Indies, everyone seems small. Danny Bryan, low key. You know, even Doug Williams, you know, he's not a monster of a man, but Luke Harper, like this guy, this Brodie Lee, it was like, look at the size of this guy. You know, we joke on this podcast all the time. Look at the size of him. And he was legitimately massive. Not Undertaker massive. We're spoiled when we watch WWE because that's the land of the giants. WWE, excuse me. But Luke Harper was big. And he was, you know, he powerbombed Moxley and he fucking annihilated the guy. And I just thought, Jesus Christ. But he could sell and he could flip and he could move and he was athletic and he was... Those things are great, but what really stood out to me is how quirky he was and how weird he was. Because I'm weird and I'm quirky and I'm stupid and I'm out there and I'm a freak and a reprobate and everything else that comes with it. So I saw Luke Harper and I thought, you know, and I saw Brodie Lee and whatever iteration of him as a wrestler. And every time I saw him, I felt like he was somewhat like me. So when I started training, I wanted to be a little bit like him. Whenever people compliment me, if my beard was really out, I'm like, yeah, I'm going for the Luke Harper, you know? He was my favorite of the Wyatt family. He was everyone's favorite at this podcast, like in terms of the underdog. You can go back and listen to our awards shows and listen to our podcast. We spent like the best part of 4 years banging on about how great he was. And at the time, I used to think, oh, just like everyone else, oh, he's not being used properly. This is a guy who literally went through the mill, everything to get to where he wanted to be. He didn't just walk in. Someone didn't just see him on the indies and go, wow, that guy's great. Let's book him. Let's pay him shit tons of money to be a wrestler. I loved everything he did. I never, you know, so many wrestlers I love. I can sit back and think, oh, that wasn't very good. Oof, didn't like that. You know, because I'm, as like most of us are in the internet wrestling community, a bit of a smarky prick at times. But I am genuinely quite a mark, and I love watching wrestling, and I loved everything that he did. And even if the things around him didn't hit, like the Bludgeon Brothers may not have been anyone's cup of tea, or maybe people think the Dark Order shit, his part and his participation always was fantastic, and it was so unique and it was so quirky and different, and that was him. That was him. You know, the stuff where he was kind of semi-mocking Vince McMahon when he first joined the Dark Order and he was this deity and he was in charge. He was Mr. Brodie Lee. And even though it was ridiculous at times, you just loved it because it was him. And his matches were great. And his in-ring talking was great. And you know, the last match I saw him in was that match against Cody, that dog collar, and that was genuinely one of AEW's best ever matches in a company that I can be very critical of. And I never had anything bad to say about that. And I never had anything bad to say about him. You know, I might have thought that certain things that he did sucked in terms of the surroundings and that, but I never felt like he sucked. He just felt so different. I've loved different since I was a kid. And it hurts every time a wrestler passes. It does. It's fucking shit. It always is. But this is really shit because it's a 41-year-old man who had 2 kids and a wife. He isn't just a fucking wrestler. He's a human being, and a good human being as well. And like I said at the beginning, wrestling isn't actually very good. A lot of people aren't very nice. It actually really sucks sometimes. And you wonder what the fuck you're bothering. You know, you get in your car and you drive like 2.5 hours home from training. You know, you feel like you've been in a car crash, ironically. You know, or you make a mistake in a match and you get chewed out backstage for it or whatever. And you feel like shit for it. But you know that's part of the process and that's fine. But you know that legitimately not many people in wrestling give a shit about you. They give a shit about what you can afford them or what they can do for you. And a lot of them are bad people. And we've seen that over this year. And then you see someone like Luke Harper, who everyone's talking about looking after them and wrestling. Even his wrestling was honest. It was just so honest and organic. You know, I remember a little match here with John Cena on Raw as Luke Harper, and he was just, giving like John Cena Hurricane Runners and things like that, and you're thinking, like, what the fuck? How does somebody that size do that? And he was a similar height to me. Obviously, he was in better shape. And every time I watched him, I was like, oh, I want to be like that. The way he drops down to one knee when he gives people a big boot. And I remember like having arguments with exes and friends in wrestling who were just like, oh, he can't do a big boot properly. And it's like, no, that's how he does it because it's quirky, because it's different. Because that's Luke Harper, man. And now he's not here. And that's shit. Like, I'm 36 in a couple of weeks. And I haven't done nearly as much as this guy will ever do, probably. And that's okay. But I think like how fragile it is. I don't want to die at 41. I don't want to leave people I love behind, albeit very few. But I see so many people who get to experience life, who take it for granted, who abuse it and abuse people around them and just use these fucking platforms every day to shit on people and to be so fucking shitty. And I'm sure I'm just as guilty at times. But fuck me, it's so toxic. It's so depressing. And fuck me, a man died at 41 and, you know, his greatest legacy is the fact that everyone will always remember him because he's amazing. But even now, like I'm going on social media and underneath comments, WWE have posted things saying how tragic it is to lose him. People are commenting underneath, well, why didn't you fucking push him? And why do you just shut the fuck up, please? Be a fucking human being, please. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm a good person. What I'm sitting here telling you to be is just to fucking have some sense of common decency and respect. But I don't want it all to be about like bullshit and negativity. I feel like I've spoken too much about myself anyway, and that's not what I'm here for. I just want people to, I don't know, I just throw this fucking video out into the void that no one will probably watch, and that's okay. I don't care about that. I've never cared about numbers and shit like that. What I've cared about is trying to convey and make people, understand what I feel and also entertain people. And this isn't what that video is about at all. This is just remembering John Huber, who was so good at what he did. So fucking good. I love the Wyatt family so much. Even when they were rubbish to so many people, fucking Bray Wyatt's lost him. He was so good. And when he turned face and he had that amazing match with Randy Orton, I think it was an Elimination Chamber, and he fought, for the number one contendership, and you just thought, oh, what do you mean? I think it was even on SmackDown. And he just thought how perfect it would have been to see Luke Harper versus Bray Wyatt on that big stage at WrestleMania. And he had so many good matches. Man, those matches with the Shield were so good. I didn't even like the Shield. I thought it was so overrated. I was such a smarky dickhead about the whole thing. I just liked Seth Rollins because he was the good wrestler. But man, those matches were hard hitting. And I remember launching out of my seat and it was so cool because obviously they'd wrestled before. Moxley, he was Dean Ambrose, and Luke Harper hits him with his big boot and he just literally catches him flush in the chin. I think it was, can't remember which pay-per-view it was. It was the first time they faced each other, the Shield versus the Wyatt family. And it doesn't fucking matter. And I'm sure there are wrestling fans of the movie like, oh, it was this pay-per-view. No one fucking cares. I care about the fucking memories. And I remember him kicking Moxie's face in and just being like, oh shit. Like, I thought it was so cool that this big heavy, I love bruisers. I've always loved hosses. And he was the hoss. There's so many good hoss wrestlers in the world, from Rusev to Brian Cage. There's so many of them. But there's Luke Harper, who can do everything, and he does it without being stupidly overstated or stupidly over the top. And obviously, for all of us, the shittest thing is knowing he's not going to be here anymore. The shittest thing is knowing that I don't get to watch him be a maniac or be quirky or be strange or bully people from the Dark. I thought it was so funny the way he was bullying wrestlers in the Dark Order and just, just whacking people around, giving John Silver the business, just treating him like shit, slapping him off the apron. It just seemed funny and it seemed entertaining. And in a year where it's been so fucking shit, it's been so shit. And that made you smile. And that made things a bit easier for us. I'm so sick of watching the people I love and, you know, the people I looked up to. I'm so sick of seeing them leave. And yet I just see it here and I think, when do I get to go? I loved everything about John Huber, the character, the human being. He was an amazing dad, an amazing husband. You only had to look at pictures of that. I'm loving all these amazing tributes. And this, frankly, this tribute's probably been a bit shit in itself, but I just really hope there is something after all this, because I don't want to know that that's it, that everything you do is for nothing. I'm not a religious person at all. God knows I'm not expecting an entry into anywhere nice afterwards, if there is such a thing, but you just kind of hope in these moments that Luke Harper's going to be where he belongs. And one day he'll be with his wife and his kids and his family and all his friends and his hilarious wrestler mates and all of these great legends. And you kind of hope that that's what it is. That it's just this big old fucking squared circle. And I'm so sick of watching great people pass away and wondering why so many evil people get to just sit here and watch it. But I'm thankful that I got to see him live and in person quite a few times. I'm thankful that I got to watch him time-wise a stick. I'm just thankful that I get to hold on to some memories of someone like that. It gets pretty lonely for a lot of us, not just me. And wrestling is what we use to, feel comfortable and feel like we're not alone. And I really hope that he can see everything that everyone says about him. Rest well, John. Rest in power and everything else that comes with it. You deserve that. You were an amazing wrestler and an amazing human being. And I didn't need to know you personally to be able to say that, because your life and your legacy has shown us that that was true. I fucking loved every single thing that I saw you do, and I'm thankful that you were one of the big things that inspired me to get off my fat old ass, my out of shape, disgusting body, and drag it into a fucking wrestling gym and learn how to bump, even badly, and achieve even a tiny little fucking speck, a little modicum of what I wanted to do. I wanted to believe that I could achieve something and be somebody. And people like you made me believe I could, even if you never knew that. So, yeah, thank you. Love you, John. So hello to everybody else that I love too, like Eddie and Owen and all the people who help me get through life. And I hope there's like some amazing matches going on up there. Never change the way you do a big boot, eh? Fuck all the haters, man. I love that big boot. Only you could do it that well. Goodbye, John.